Habit 1. They move every single day, but in a way they actually enjoy. One of the biggest differences you notice is that movement isn't treated like punishment. There's none of that, I need to work out because I gained weight narrative, or I have to exercise because my doctor told me to. Movement is just part of life, full stop. And it starts with something very simple. Walking. In Canada, regardless of the temperature, and winters here can be seriously brutal, you'll regularly see older adults walking through parks, along trails, beside rivers and lakes. Not as a chore, but as a ritual. Something that's woven into the structure of the day. What science shows us about this is genuinely fascinating. Walking 30 to 45 minutes a day, most days of the week, reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease, improves mental health, protects memory, and contributes significantly to maintaining a healthy weight and muscle mass. And the best part? It's free. It doesn't require a gym membership, and you can do it just about anywhere. But beyond walking, there's something else worth noting. The variety of movement. Many older Canadians garden intensely, cycle on the Trans-Canada Trail, swim in lakes during the summer, play hockey on outdoor rinks, cross-country ski in the winter, or hike through the Rockies or Algonquin. The key isn't the type of exercise, it's the enjoyment it brings. Because when you genuinely like what you're doing, you don't quit. And it's the consistency over years and decades that makes all the difference. If you haven't yet found a form of movement that brings you pleasure, that's your first task. Find it. Dancing, swimming, cycling, yoga, box in the park, snowshoeing, it doesn't matter. Find what moves your body and lifts your spirit at the same time. Habit 2. They have a healthy relationship with food, without the obsession. No people on earth eat perfectly all the time. But what you consistently see in Canadians in their 50s, 60s, and beyond is a balanced relationship with food. No excessive guilt, no crash diets, no anxiety around mealtimes. There are a few recurring patterns. Food is cooked at home regularly. Meals are social events, not just fuel stops. There's a steady presence of vegetables, quality proteins, and healthy fats. And there's also room for pleasure, a slice of butter tart, a glass of Niagara wine, a beaver tail at a winter festival. The difference is that this enjoyment doesn't come wrapped in guilt. After 50, metabolism shifts. The body calls for adjustments. Muscle mass starts to decline more quickly if there's no proper stimulus, and protein becomes even more important. Many Canadians who age well pay close attention to this. They increase their protein intake, include more fish like salmon and Arctic char, eggs, legumes, and naturally ease back on ultra-processed foods. Not because someone told them to, but because they feel the difference in how their body responds. Another meaningful eating habit is paying attention while you eat. No screens, no rushing, sitting at the table. This not only improves digestion, it helps the body pick up on satiety signals, which makes an enormous difference in managing weight over time. Habit 3. They invest in real human connection. Here's one of the most underestimated and simultaneously most powerful habits of all. Decades of research on longevity point repeatedly to the same conclusion. People with meaningful social relationships live longer, get sick less often, and show significantly lower rates of depression and cognitive decline. In Canada, it's very common to see older adults with an active and intentional social life. Book clubs, walking groups, community volunteering, language classes, euchre nights, photography clubs, curling leagues. Community participation isn't just for young people, it's for anyone who understands that human beings need a sense of belonging at every stage of life. One statistic that stops people in their tracks. Chronic loneliness has health effects comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases the risk of dementia, accelerates cellular aging, and compromises the immune system. In other words, nurturing friendships isn't a luxury. It's healthcare. The habit, then, is this: investing time and energy in human relationships intentionally. Calling a friend, hosting a dinner, saying yes to a group, volunteering for something that matters to you. Not waiting for connections to show up on their own, because after 50, they need to be actively cultivated. Habit 4. They sleep well, and they don't feel guilty about it. Sleeping well is an act of self-respect, and Canadians who age well seem to have genuinely internalized this. There's no glorification of exhaustion, no rise and grind culture that celebrates running on empty. There's instead a clear recognition that sleep is foundational to everything. Memory, mood, weight, immunity, cardiovascular health, hormonal health. After 50, sleep changes. Many people start waking up earlier, sleep fewer consecutive hours, and find their sleep is lighter overall. That's normal. The problem isn't the change itself. It's when people ignore the importance of adapting their habits to still get quality rest. Some practices that are common among people who sleep well in this stage of life. Keeping consistent sleep and wake times even on weekends. Avoiding screens in the last hour or two before bed. Creating a dark, cool bedroom environment. Limiting caffeine after 2 p.m. And not using alcohol as a sleep aid, because while it might help you fall asleep, it fragments the second half of your night and interferes with deep, restorative sleep. A short nap during the day, somewhere between 15 and 25 minutes, is also embraced by many as a perfectly legitimate recovery tool. Not laziness, strategy. Habit 5. They take their mental health as seriously as their physical health. Mental health in Canada is treated as part of overall health. It's not taboo, it's not weakness, it's not something to hide. It's recognized as an essential component of well-being, especially after 50. A phase that often brings significant transitions. Kids leaving home, retirement approaching, losses, shifts in professional identity. The habit here isn't necessarily therapy, though that's widely practiced and valued. It's the habit of paying attention to your inner life. Of asking questions like, what makes me feel alive? What am I avoiding feeling? What do I still want to build? Meditation and mindfulness practices are common among older adults across Canada. Not as a trend, but as real tools for managing stress and staying connected to yourself. Apps, meditation groups, retreats, there's a genuine search for emotional balance. Another important piece is continuous learning. A brain that learns new things, that's challenged, that explores unfamiliar territory, ages very differently from a brain that operates on autopilot all the time. Learning an instrument, studying a new language, getting into a creative hobby, all of it feeds cognitive plasticity and reduces the risk of mental decline. Habit 6. They have an honest relationship with the healthcare system. This might sound like a logistical detail, but it's a deep cultural habit. Canadians over 50 tend to have a proactive relationship with preventive health. They get regular checkups. They talk openly with their doctors. They don't wait for a problem to become serious before asking for help. Canada's universal healthcare system makes this easier. That's true. But the habit itself goes beyond the system. It's a mindset of early care, not firefighting. It's understanding that the body needs regular monitoring, just like a car needs periodic maintenance. Cholesterol panels, blood sugar checks, blood pressure, bone density scans, thyroid function, mammograms, colonoscopies. These are all part of a preventive calendar that people follow without drama, not as something frightening, but as part of adult self-care. This habit also includes caring for what many people overlook. Dental health, deeply connected to cardiovascular health, vision and hearing. Untreated hearing loss is now recognized as one of the leading risk factors for dementia. And musculoskeletal health, looking after your spine, knees, and hips before the problems begin. Habit 7, they find meaning, and they revisit, that question regularly. This is, perhaps, the deepest of all 7 habits, and also the most personal. There's a Japanese concept, ikigai, that became well known in the West and means, roughly, reason for being. The idea of having something that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. And this isn't just a young person's question. It becomes especially urgent after 50. What you observe among Canadians who age with vitality is that they don't abandon this question. When one phase of life ends, when the kids leave, when a career wraps up, when a relationship changes, they don't collapse. They reorganize. They search for the next purpose. It might be volunteering for a cause that matters to them. It might be the project that sat on the back burner for decades. It might be the trip that kept getting postponed. It might be learning to paint watercolors, tending a proper vegetable garden in the backyard, or simply being a present and joyful grandparent to the grandkids. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be genuine, and it has to be revisited. Because people change, circumstances change, and the meaning of life isn't something you find once and store on a shelf forever. It's something you recreate over time. Research shows that people with a strong sense of purpose live longer, sleep better, have lower systemic inflammation, and are more resilient in the face of adversity. Purpose isn't a philosophical luxury. It's physiological. What all these habits have in common. If you stop and think about the 7 habits we've just walked through, you might notice a common thread running through all of them. Not one of them requires you to deny that you're aging. Not one of them is about pretending the years aren't passing, or chasing a youth that no longer exists. Every single one of them, without exception, is about presence, about being here, in the body you have, in the phase of life you're in the relationships you cultivate, in the meaning you build. Aging without drama doesn't mean aging without challenges. It means having developed, over the years, the internal tools and external habits that allow you to move through those challenges without falling apart, with some grace, with far less resistance to what's real. Canadian culture, in this respect, has a lot to teach. Not because it's perfect, no culture is, but because there's in it a pragmatic acceptance of time passing, paired with a refusal to be passive about it. It's as if people are saying, yes, I'm getting older, and I've got a lot to do while that's happening. Where do you start? If you've made it to the end of this, and you're wondering where to begin, the answer is, with the simplest thing. Don't try to change everything at once. The research on habit formation is clear. Small, consistent changes outperform brief, exhausting revolutions every single time. Pick one of the 7 habits. Which one resonated most with you? Which one feels most urgent or most doable right now? Start there. Give that habit a few weeks to settle into your routine, then add another. The second half of life can be, for many people, the richest, most authentic, and most meaningful stretch of all. What Canadians who age well show us, through their everyday examples, is that this doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. It happens through the habits you decide to cultivate, day after day, until they become part of who you are. And it is never too late to start.